Brothers and sisters, please be with you. We'll be waiting for anyone else that would like to come in. Going to take our time today. Definitely going to take our time. And I want to say that I appreciate you for being patient with me. I appreciate that because, and I'll say it over and over again as often as I can think of it, which would be often, every day. You didn't have to, you don't have to. And when you take time to spend it with me, I'm very thankful for it. And I feel that I can get the message out. And I want to thank you for inviting people to the show because the numbers are rising. And I'm hoping at least to get 500. I'm just before the week is out. So I'm being positive. I'm being positive. And hoping for that. But we got a very interesting topic today, and it has been a long time coming. It has been a long time coming. Just adjust the screen. It's been a long time coming because we have seen it, just as others have saw it in the past. We've seen it. We've seen it. Seen the way that Minister Farrakhan has moved. We've seen it, but we hadn't been able to put our finger on it. But we have been able to see it. Peace, brother. Peace, John the Professional. Peace. Thank you for joining us tonight, and hopefully you all will tell other people to join us. I'm very happy I've achieved something now. I was able to get rid of that 4 o'clock shadow. Although you can see that if you look closely, the hair is coming back on my face fast with a vengeance. So I have to shave 2 times a day. But I can say that I have, and I've come here before you the right way. I've come before you comfortably. So I'm thankful for that. What can I say, brothers and sisters? We are in a very difficult moment in our period. Our history is a very difficult moment because we got white people killing us, and we don't have any brothers willing to stand up. You got some brothers that are standing up, but we could use more brothers that are standing up. And so to help our women out here on these front lines, we got more women, black sisters on the front line than we have black brothers. And that's a fact. So I'm hoping that that we can embrace our sisters on this front line. Peace, Sister Donna Sharif. Thank you for joining us tonight. And everyone that's in the house tonight, thank you for joining us. Because there's much work for us to do. Pardon me. There's much work for us to do. And I intend to, I've got to come before you every day. And then after that, I'm going to do what's called a virtual revival, where I can come on and be able to act as a brother in this time period should, a leader in this time period should. Just somebody who's obedient. Someone who asks the question, Lord, is there anybody to go? Is there anybody to close the gap? And if there is, and Lord, send me, I'll go. And even in our religious life, like in our social life and our political life, we've got to mature. We have no alternative. We've got to mature to the place where we're able to tell God's word. His word is that we be liberated, that every man and woman will be liberated. That's the word of God. That's God's desire. That's God's word. And we have to embrace that word and stop. Don't fear the white man. Don't fear the white man, fear God. God is the one that you should fear. You shouldn't be fearing the white man. Because the white man put his pants on one leg at a time, just as you. And he is another man that have misused and abused his powers, misused and abused the powers of humanity. That's mine and your power. Instead of taking the road of peace, he takes a wide road of destruction. And so that's why you see you and I falling. In any period that you look in, you see us falling victim to his disobedience, to his criminal ways, to his murderous ways, to his iniquity. And the word said we were born in sin and shaped in iniquity. Isn't that what the word says? That we were born in sin and shaped in iniquity? So, being in this bondage, how are we born in sin, shaped in iniquity, being in this bondage? Well, the white man created this bondage. America is a slavery plantation and nothing else. When he brought you here to fulfill his labor market. And when you fulfill the labor market, or when you were able to plant and reap, when you were able to create, when you were able to give him free labor, you fulfilled the desires of his labor market. Then it made him a very wealthy man. Now, I want to get rid of several myths, brothers and sisters, because this is very important that we do. There are myths going around that there wasn't money on plantation. And I stand here to tell you that that's not true. I stand here to tell you that slaves receive salaries on plantations. I stand here to tell you that. So anyone that tells you that the slave never got any money on the plantation, he's lying. If they tell you there were no schools on the plantation, he's lying. If he tell you that there was no banks on the plantation, or colleges on the plantation, or even colleges attached to the plantation in Europe, he's lying. And I just want you to know. I want you to know the truth. So you can, when you know the truth, that you can be able to call him what he really is, nothing but an old liar, nothing but an old tell thing, and nothing but an old sickly thing. That's the white man. That's what he is. Nothing but an old devil. That's what I'm trying to tell you. And you wonder why it seems that we hate him. We don't hate him, but we love our people so much until to him it looks like hate. To him it looks like hate. So brothers and sisters, what is our job here today? What is our purpose here today? It's to talk about how we have deviated. How we have deviated. Excuse me. From the plan that God gave to Mr. Muhammad. How we deviated from this plan. I'm still of the faith. I'm still of the faith. And I got enough sense to ally myself with Most Honorable Silas Muhammad, because I know that to ally yourself with Minister Louis Farrakhan is to ally yourself with the enemy. I said and I said again, he ain't nothing but an old hypocrite, nothing but an old Tom, nothing but an old coat tugger when it comes to your and my liberation. When he thinks you're talking too loud, they'll send him out. That's what happened. We're about to have one of the worst revolutions under Dr. Khalid Muhammad that the white man has ever seen. And the fact that he knew that Dr. Khalid Muhammad couldn't be bought, then he gave Farrakhan this football toss called the Justice or Else campaign. I'm telling you, all you got to do is search it, brothers and sisters. You see, Farrakhan has been a plant from the very beginning. And that's what I want to tell you, that he's been a plant from the very beginning. The very beginning, he's been a plant. And the sooner that you know that, then you'll be all right. Because you'll know that he was a plant from the very beginning. Let's go over this. There's been a transformation. There has literally been a transformation from the Muslims, the militant Muslim, Then there has been from the Elijah Muslim. And I'm going to separate them that way. Because what is our subject today? I want to read our subject today so you'll know. Our subject today is, what is it? Our subject today, I want you to read it with me, if you will. Our subject today is what is the FOI, the NOI without Elijah, Malcolm, and Dr. Khalid? Let me read that again, and I hope you're reading with me. What is the FOI, NOI without Elijah, Malcolm, and Dr. Khalid? And this is very important. This is very important, because when we look at the FOI and look at the Nation of Islam that houses the FOI, in its creation after the Garveyites, we're going to talk about both of those movements to explain how the Nation of Islam under Louis Farrakhan has decreased. But I want you to know that Silas Muhammad and the Lost and Found Nation of Islam has continued. There's no deviation, none whatsoever. And the Nation of Islam has not fizzled out. That's what the media would have you to know. And that's how you know who an agent is, because they put all of the media, I don't care how much they say that they hate Minister Farrakhan. Don't listen to these white people. Don't listen to what they say. Listen, look at what they do. They'll tell you that they hate Minister Farrakhan. And yet, every time you turn around, everything he does, they're putting the camera on him. And know that he ain't going to do nothing to mess up the program. Why? He's not going to do anything to mess up the program because he's a part of their program. He's a part of that program. He's not going to do anything to mess it up. You got to know that. I already know it. I already know it. You got to know it. He's not going to do anything. You're not going to get any trouble or anything like that. And I want you to watch closely. Now, his successor would be Ismail Muhammad. I want you to know that. He's the national representative of the Nation of Islam now. And his spirit is totally different than the spirit of Dr. Khalid Muhammad. And this is a fact. You have to study to know this so that you'll see what I'm telling you is true. And I know if there are those that don't really have any real knowledge of the Nation of Islam, at its beginning, the history, how it all began, the peak, the zenith, and then, of course, the descension. And we're going to talk deductive reasoning today so we can talk about the descension. Because it's important that people know who Master Farad Muhammad is, who the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad is, the messenger of Allah, his title, who the Honorable Minister Malcolm X was and is, why Louis Farrakhan is made a fraud, or why he's called a fraud, or why we can see that he's fraudulent in his stand as a Muslim, and where the CIA and FBI sought to inject him. So we have to talk about that. And once we get there, then we're going to jump ahead to Dr. Khalid Abdul Muhammad, who made the Nation of Islam who it is under Minister Louis Farrakhan. Because it wasn't Farrakhan who pulled Muslims in. It wasn't Farrakhan. You need to know that. If anybody tell you that it was, they're lying, and they don't know. They don't have any knowledge. And I can speak of my own knowledge from 1986 that I remember. And this is when it was really, really taking off. Even though Farrakhan at that time, was still speaking heresy as it relates to the Muslim movement. So it's important that you understand that. Because right now we're looking at the Farrakhan Muslim versus the Elijah Muslim. And you'll see that the Farrakhan Muslim is going to fizzle out. When it happened, you'll remember that I told you that the Farrakhan Muslim is going to fizzle out. And that's a fact, because they're already doing it. If you look, Many of the women today, excuse me, brothers and sisters, many of the women today are not even wearing their hijab. Farrakhan Muslims, the Farrakhan Muslimas. They'll even show their hair and won't even wear their hijab. And if you don't have your hijab on, that means your neck is exposed, your chest is exposed, and all of that. Now, I know some are probably saying, well, brother, why is that important? Because sister can wear whatever she wants to wear. That's true in some instances. But when you are standing as a Muslima, then see your dressing should be in code as it relates to the most honorable Elijah Muhammad. This is important. This is what you must know. And I'm telling you so you can know it, because I already know that if you don't know it, then you won't understand what the subject is about. So I've got to lay the groundwork to tell you what's important and why it's important. It's important that you will know what's important, why these things are important, why this dress code was set into place, for what reason, what is the purpose of the dress code, what is the purpose of the signification of righteousness in the outer appearance when it comes to our people. Why are we thinking about this? Why do we talk this way? Why do we walk this way? Why am I grievous about the present day NOI under Minister Farrakhan? You need to know, because when the Nation of Islam started, and I'll take the point at which it started to be noticed. We're talking about between 1924, when Master Fard Muhammad is actually first going out to get the message around, where it starts to stick. Because when dealing with our people, you got to get a message that starts to stick. You got to talk it a while for it to stick, for it to take place, and everything of that nature. So when Master Fard Muhammad began to teach this, first get it out to the lost and found Nation of Islam, the tribe of Shabazz, which is a black man in America, as 1924 to 1930, and he gets the message out to several, but it's not until Elijah Poole, who leaves Atlanta, Georgia, and comes to Chicago. Initially, he came to Detroit. And then came to Chicago, and then went to Chicago, and came back to Detroit, and then came back to Chicago, because he was establishing the Nation of Islam as temple religion. And so, but upon his first inception of this great knowledge, this teaching in Detroit, he listened to it and realized that this message is necessary for the millions of black men and women in America, not including their children. It was necessary for the black man and the black woman, because they would teach their children. And would have to raise up a generation that was under this kind of thinking, under this kind of science, under this kind of truth, and under this kind of social development, so to speak, and religious development. Because the white man had successfully dismantled the following and movement of the noble Drew Ali as a major force. He had successfully dismantled the National Baptist, the first organization of the National Baptist Association, and he had successfully dismantled the Garveyite movement successfully. And because Marcus Garvey was more on an international stand, he did very little for his campaign in America, or to build up his campaign in America, or to meet the individuals that were most important to him in that movement. Minister Malcolm, while I'm speaking about this, I want to, because we can't talk about the most honorable Elijah Muhammad and not talk about Minister Malcolm X. Minister Malcolm was the son of a Garveyite preacher, which was a Baptist preacher who taught African nationalism and black nationalism. He was the son of Earl Little, Reverend Minister, Pastor, Evangelist Earl Little, and they were getting the same teaching. So not only Minister Malcolm, but there were many that were getting this teaching from many different organizations that the white man had infiltrated and divided it. This is very important for me to tell you. So they learned from this. They weren't satisfied. So they began to attend each other's conventions. They were attending anyway, but really attended each other's convention in a fierce moment to create allies amongst black leaders, black religions, black teachers. And excuse me, brothers and sisters. And so while they're attending each other's convention, they began to attend each other's congregation. And it's important to note that without exception, the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, as taught to him by Master Fard Muhammad about freedom, justice, equality, and Islam, touched the heart of brothers and sisters because it didn't only talk about their spiritual salvation, but it talked about their physical salvation. It didn't talk about heaven tomorrow, but it talked about heaven now. It didn't talk about peace and justice in the morning, in that great getting up morning, but it talked about peace and justice now. And it touched the brothers and the sisters, excuse me. It touched the brothers and the sisters that heard it. So you had a growing movement, something that was useful to the black man and the black woman and black children, because it told them to go to their own schools, create your own schools. It told them to create your own jobs. It told them to support your own businesses. And it was a do for self philosophy. And not only that, but it had training schools to train young men and young women to be successful Muslims and successful Muslimas. It was very successful. So the Nation of Islam dealt with the whole man. And the original Nation of Islam deals with the whole man. It's important that I say that it deals with the whole man. When I say whole man, I mean man, woman, and child. So it puts the man in place, even if he's had a rocky past, even if he made some mistakes. The original Nation of Islam, the true Nation of Islam, could reach out, grab that man, raise him up from a dead level to a live one, give him a new walk, a new talk, a new attitude about himself, and instead of him going out to ask the man for a job, it would teach him how to create his own job, which is very important. And the reason I'm telling you this is that there's been a falling away. There's been a falling away. Just as the white man came in to infiltrate and smite us in the late 10s and mid 20s and 30s to try and smite our unity, he has smote us again, and there's a great falling away. This time, it's been more political and religious. Because I want you to understand that the nation, in its exception, handled the political side of the black man, the social side of the black man, the spiritual side of the black man, and the religious side of the black man. So it handled every part of us. And we were being taught through history. It's very important for you to know, because if you can't accept the history, brothers and sisters, then you're lost. You have to know the history of this nation, America, this nation of America, and how it is related to the Nation of Islam, how it's related to black people in general. You have to know it. And so what I'm telling you is that the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad had a way of teaching and a simple way of touching the hearts of men and raising them up. Only he could do it. He was perfectly suited for this position as a messenger of God, messenger of Allah. to get the one who had gotten supreme wisdom from Master Fard Muhammad. And there's a book called Supreme Wisdom that it will be good for you to get. You can find it online. And so, while Elijah Poole had came from Georgia and found this new walk, new talk, new way of thinking, this age-old religion, I mean, the religion itself is age-old. This African-centered religion taught in a Baptist-type forum and was like a truth and answering type of thing. It wasn't no foolishness. How you get preachers over the pulpit, and I don't have anything against hooping because I love it. I love hooping. I love to see brothers do it, but teach about something first. Teach about something first, and then if you want to hoop, go on and hoop. Nothing like a cake with some icing on it, or turkey with dressing and cranberry sauce and with some gravy. That's great. But give us the message first. Give us the food. Then you can bring out the extra stuff later. What I'm saying is that it was different from this hobgoblin hooping. You seen brothers when they're hooping. If they haven't taught, some of them only read, some of them don't even know how to read, brothers. They won't even study, and will get in before you and I and just perform. And that's what we've gotten used to. We've gotten to performance. But Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad would teach this lesson. Like I'm talking to you, he would teach it. And would be strong in the lesson and convinced in the lesson. He believed it. So when the people heard it, they believed it. They knew it was the truth, knew it was to help them. Because if you're coming from a Garveyite style of teaching, and from Marcus Garvey, and prior to that you had the Noble Drew Ali, and prior to that you had the National Baptist Convention of Slaves, and that were aggressive in this religious style teaching. And each of these are pointing the white man out as the problem that they're having, a devil on many levels. Then it would be easy. It would be easy to hear the Nation of Islam as taught by the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. I hope you're all right. And so when he's teaching this lesson, Minister Malcolm around this time had got into some trouble. And he's growing up as a teen who had lost his father because a white man killed his dad. We're talking about the dissension now. And I want you to understand that the white man has killed every black leader that has come forth. Malcolm's father was no different. His father was a mighty leader as a Garveyite, mighty leader. But the white man came against him, constantly coming against him. Ever since he could remember, the white man was coming against him. And it's important for you to know that he'd already known, just like many other blacks had known. See, because that the white man was a devil, because when you have, you see a lady that's pregnant with some children, her husband's away working or he's in the farm working, and you see white people come attacking them, burning their houses. I mean, burning them out. Not one house, not two houses, but I mean a history of burning them out. And then this same white man that you call your friend, or some people call him their friend, then killed the father of the family. See? Earl Little was just one of many that he was killing, the white man was killing. And he's continued in this evil. But to put it back in perspective, when you've seen all of this, and that history goes back to the history of slavery that black people knew then more accurately than we know now. And even those that could trace it all the way back to Africa, even the boating ports, you had no problem believing that the white man was a devil. You had no problem believing it. And I'm standing on this premise because I want you to understand the descent and the fall of the nation as it relates under Louis Farrakhan, Minister Farrakhan. And brothers and sisters, when Minister Malcolm had gotten in trouble and got in prison and had went through this type of I call it wilderness. Every young black man, when he has the absence of a male role figure or a male role model, will go through this trivial experience. What do we want to call it? We call it the wilderness. Go through this wilderness experience. And when he goes to jail, it's almost like a place where he can go and it calms many of them down. It calms them down. Minister Malcolm, as a young man, was calmed down, because he had knew every trick in the book. Not until he started educating and doing for himself in the prisons that he began to understand that, hey, wait a minute, I got to get out of this racket, and I got to get out of this habit of crime. I got to get out of this habit of destroying myself and destroying others, because this is a vicious cycle. Now, I want you to understand that he saw this before he had been inducted into the Nation of Islam. It's through his brother that he is brought into the Nation of Islam, through his brother and his family giving him letters. And he reads these letters and he responds and he studies. He's studying everything that Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad is given to him. He also has a brother in the prison that he's discussing these same things with, who was also a believer. And when he gets out of the prison and go and meet the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, he's on fire. But he had already was gaining momentum in the prison, in so much so that the CIA and FBI was watching him. So you have to understand that there was a rise up. Anytime there's a massive continence of black people in this country, you'll see black people rising up around the world for some reason, because we are the holy people of God who's called out to in the midst of our suffer, to lead men and women back unto the righteousness of God and to defend ourselves by any means necessary. This is a fact. This is the teaching. This is the teaching that if I've lost all else and I can't be at peace, and I realize that I have to fight, everything that I have belongs to Allah or God, and it's time for us to fight. And so that's the teaching that is in the Nation of Islam. You have to understand that. So when Minister Malcolm comes to the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad and he's staying at his home, he has the chance to get direct teaching, which you could call this his postgraduate training, because he had went through so many things in the natural world. He called it his bachelor's and master's degree. And in a sense, what he was explaining was it was preparing him for the ministry that he would undertake and overtake in the Nation of Islam. So here Minister Malcolm is raised and trained by the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and he goes, man, crisscrossing the country, just raising up brothers and sisters, and with a fierce urgency, because everything else had been out of him. I believe it was David who said, when I was a child, I acted as a child, I spake as a child, I moved as a child, but when I became a man, I put away childish things. So Minister Malcolm had grown into his manhood. And since he was a recipient and a pupil of Garveyite teaching, the Nation of Islam was Garveyite teaching times 10. And not only that, but it produced results. When he went to the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad had a house, it had stores and things of that nature. So the Muslims were able to go into places and support their own. So it was able to pull their resource, pull their wealth. And this is very important for you to understand, that that's one of the problems that we have today. The black man is not able to pull his wealth. Now let's take a faker like Minister Farrakhan. You call him honorable, and I'd say less than honorable, because he hasn't set up one business. He's talking about land and all of that. He has a restaurant up, but nobody takes that seriously. You see, but as far as a business is concerned, a business, a Moves and Oint store, or the People's Grocery Mart, blocks of business. You don't see him talking about any of that. He keeps saying a land of our own, a place of our own, and what we can plant and reap. But he has no knowledge and no wisdom how to turn his religion into currency for his own people and to create jobs for his own people. Proof of which, they're flying by the seat of their pants because they're not even teaching Muhammad. No, not even teaching Elijah Muhammad. They're teaching Louis Farrakhan and his confusion. And Minister Malcolm, it's Minister Malcolm that discovers Minister Farrakhan, or so he thinks. And later, he begins to allude to the fact that the CIA and FBI have begun to set everything in his path. Everything that he thought that he would reach, they're setting it in his path. And he alludes to this. And you have to read and study, and have to be reading and studying this for some time to see it. So here, Minister Malcolm had met many of the stars of that day, familiar with them, including Billie Holiday, Cap Calloway, and all of these other performers. Sam Cooke knew these men. Muhammad Ali, he met him in the celebrity arena. And he pulled these people and gravitated them to the Nation of Islam, was able to get support. Well, there was another young performer. He was called the Charmer, who was singing and playing a ukulele, which is a small guitar, and could sing, would also play the violin and things of that nature. Had some talent, was very talented, very charismatic. And Minister Malcolm saw him. He was smoking marijuana, and as a matter of fact, he continued to smoke it when he got in the nation. I'm talking about the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. His name then was Louis X. And Louis Wilk Walcott. So Minister Malcolm has a time telling him, look, you can't be smoking this marijuana, brother. You're talking about being in the nation, and you got to calm it down. Minister Farrakhan eventually calms it down. It takes him a while because he's still doing it when he was in the nation. So it took him a while. I want you to know that. He didn't just stop. He was used to smoking marijuana. It was a strong part of his family. And you'll hear some other historians and writers talk about it. And he himself will admit it, but he won't admit it exactly like it was because he wants to make himself above reproach. That's Minister Farrakhan. He almost wants to make himself a god. He has made himself a demigod for black people and have spoken like he's beyond reproach, but he's not. No one's beyond reproach, brothers and sisters. Me, you, and no one. You should be able to question anyone that has decided to be a leader before you and have risen to that rank. You should be able to question us no matter who it is, and we should be able to answer you. And so when he finds Minister Louis Farrakhan, and he raises him from a dead level to a live one. In other words, get him to stop all his worldly habits, the drinking, the smoking, the drugs, and raise him up. Then he put him on the path of the ministry and introduce him to Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad and the Nation of Islam. And this is very important for you to know and remember. So what happens then? You had ruckus, brothers that were jealous of the attention that Minister Malcolm was getting. Now, I want to say this. The Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad was not jealous. How can you be upset about the amount of attention someone is bringing to your religious organization? So it's impossible without the messenger, without the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, there would be no organization. But this trick about envy and jealousy, which Farrakhan was one of the most jealous ones, they continued to carry these things out. They continued to carry these things out. This jealousy. Minister Farrakhan was one of them. His whole purpose when he got in as a celebrity, and he played on a few well-known talk shows back in that day, including Ed Sullivan for that time. So his point was to get recognition, to have some form of celebrity. That was his whole deal. The Nation of Islam was a massive, well-recognized, well-organized organization. This would give him the status that he needed for that day. I want you to understand that. You must understand this. You have to. And Minister Farrakhan, at any moment that he could jump in, because the CIA and FBI put him in the line so Malcolm could pick him out. I want you to understand that this organization, you can't look at Minister Farrakhan without looking at the CIA and FBI. No way. You got to be able to know that he was working with him from the beginning. The minute that Minister Malcolm got him, he had already infiltrated an agent. I want you to know that. If you don't know that, you're on the wrong road. I'm telling you, brothers and sisters. If you don't know that, you're on the wrong road. You'll have to look at Minister Farrakhan as an agent. Now, when this ruckus come about, the deal was to cause trouble between Minister Farrakhan, rather not Minister Farrakhan. Minister Farrakhan would cause the trouble between the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad and Minister Malcolm X. You would also have Wallace Warradine Muhammad who would do this. You would also have Gordon Parks, who was the famous photographer that will continue in this. You also had Joseph X. You also had John Ali, the National Press Secretary, that would carry this bone that the CIA gave them to cause trouble for Minister Malcolm, even to set the climate for his assassination. And not only did the Muslims that the CIA had put in the Nation of Islam cause the climate for his assassination, but some of their own men that they had recruited pulled the triggers. Now, I tell you to go back in history, 1965, January the 26th, 1965, and go to see how they did a dry run on Minister Malcolm 4 weeks before the actual assassination was to take place, and then did a dry run every week after that, right on up until February the 21st, 1965. I want you to know that. And it's important that you know. It's important that you know. Because I'm not picking with Minister Farrakhan. And at one time, I loved him dearly, blindly, had blind love. Because I met him through the Most Honorable Dr. Khalid Muhammad, who's the reason the Muslims under Minister Farrakhan with such a large growth and impact, is because of the spirit that Dr. Khalid had was the spirit of Minister Malcolm and the loyalty to the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. You have to understand that. You have to understand that. And for us to not say this, do a disjustice to our people, because these white people are killing us. And I want you to know that Farrakhan has no army behind him. He only has a bunch of rose pickers who are black Muslims who are holding hands with white men, picking up roses and daisies in the flower garden. Yes, I said, and I say it again, that we have no army in the Muslims that's under the following of Minister Farrakhan. Now, if you need an army, there's an army under Salas Muhammad. Salas Muhammad, there is an army. There's the original Nation of Islam, lost and found Nation of Islam under Minister Salas Muhammad. We have an army, but you don't have an army under Minister Malcolm, or rather, you don't have an army under Minister Louis Farrakhan. Farrakhan does not have an army. He has men that have been paid, including Nuri Muhammad and Wesley Muhammad. Including Nuri and Wesley Muhammad. And the man put them forth because the man wants to keep you blind. It's to further indoctrinate you in this foolishness of justice or else. And we ain't got justice and we ain't got nothing else. Farrakhan merely marched, and those marches took us back 25 years. The anniversary took us back another 25 years. So here you and I are, sitting back 50 years ago, and under the same problems that we're under today as we were in the past. This is a fact. This is a fact. Farrakhan himself said that Father Flagler is his friend in 1994 of June. In 1993, at King Khalid, when Dr. Khalid Muhammad gave the speech and said, let's talk about the Catholic priests and the Catholic Church and see what's really under those skirts, he was defending Minister Farrakhan. And Farrakhan, because he had been tugged by his financiers, in other words, the people that are paying him money, the people that are paying him money, the American government, at that time under Bill Clinton, they got angry about what Dr. Khalid said about the Catholic priests. To show you the complicity in it is when they voted to do something about Dr. Khalid, they had all the coons to come out. I'm telling you. Brothers and sisters, all you got to do is go back and search this. I wouldn't lie to you. They had all the coons to come out. Every last one of them. You had Ben Chavis. You had Reverend Butts, or as Dr. Khalid called him, Reverend Behind. You had Jesse Jackson, who said he was the first one that called. No, matter of fact, it was Ben Chavis. Said he was the first one that called Minister Farrakhan and said we got to do something about Dr. Khalid. And then Jesse Jackson followed him up. What are you going to do about Dr. Khalid? You only had one coon that was talking about saving Dr. Khalid, and that was Al Sharpton at the time. Because he's going to go whichever way the wind blows, and I want you to understand that. Right then, black folks were paying his bills, so he wasn't going to make no stand against Dr. Khalid at that time. But he didn't get his bone until Barack Obama became president, and at that point they went and passed over all of these qualified leaders, all of the qualified leaders, all of the real black nationalist leaders. They passed them by, passed by Khalid Muhammad and all the other, where rather Khalid Muhammad wasn't on the scene at the time. But they passed by all the other leaders. Dr. Khalid had passed at that time. And they reached out and got Al Sharpton in the Obama group. A street preacher that had been raised up by James Brown. This is a fact. I'm telling you what I know. And then once they got him there, they said, look, you got to wear this lap band because you're too big and we can't have you that big on television. We're going to have to cut your perm down and slick it back a bit. Give you sort of a white man appearance. And when you come now, you're going to have to come, talking. You don't talk too well now. You're going to have to come. We're going to put on your speeches comments about Dr. King and all that. And so they ride the King. I call it the King road. A lot of these be riding King's coattail. Riding his coattail. It's a shame. Al Sharpton, one of the biggest. He ain't got no message. You can't point me out anywhere in time or history where Al Sharpton ever had a message. But this is who they use. So he's another coon. So all of the coons came out except Al Sharpton. Was asking him, he said, look, are you going to get Dr. Khalid? That's what he asked Minister Farrakhan. Are you going to get Dr. Khalid and have him speak at the Million Man March? Farrakhan had ousted Dr. Khalid in 1993, poured him to use him to gain the people, made him believe that he was going to speak, and when the time came for him to speak, he wouldn't even let him speak. This is a fact. I tell you this because this is something that you have to know. Brothers and sisters, if you're out there, please like this, hit the like button, hit the thumbs up, and let somebody else know I'm out there. Just copy and paste and send it to Facebook and every other place and let people know I'm out here. And you all come and bring them here so they need to listen to this. See, because if you go back in the past, you understand why we're falling. So let's jump back a minute. Farrakhan calls for the death of Minister Malcolm. Now, I want you to understand that he was close to Minister Malcolm. He knew Sister Betty Shabazz. He knew the children. He remembered the births. and all of that. Don't you know it had to be a low down dirty devil to see all of this, to cause trouble, and to ask for the death of a man? Would you leave him, leave the children fatherless, leave the wife husbandless? And not one time did he visit Dr. Betty Shabazz or Sister Betty Shabazz. Not one time. And I know this because I have it in the interview that I did from 12 years old to 14 years old. I have it. I have the interview. Not once. Not once. And this came from the sister's own mouth. And so she said she received no inflection. And she continued to say this from the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. Her trouble came from people like Louis Farrakhan, Minister Farrakhan's brother, Wallace Waradeen Muhammad, and all the others who had played Minister Malcolm and then betrayed him. This is a fact. But they'll never tell you this. They won't tell you. Even the daughters know. If you listen to their interviews, they'll tell you. They'll tell you if you listen to their interviews. They know that Minister Farrakhan is nothing but a fraud. They know it. And I want you to concentrate that if Minister Farrakhan is a fraud and they're trying to build up the Nation of Islam, how many people, black nationalists or black Muslims, would have to die in order to keep that going? I want you to think about that. I want you to think with me. How many people would have to die in order to keep this lie going? Now, Minister Malcolm, they got him killed. Now, Minister Malcolm says to his wife, he says, when I'm killed, it will be with the help of the government and the Nation of Islam. He learned late that Elijah Muhammad didn't have anything to do with that. I said, and I say it again, Elijah Muhammad had nothing to do with the death of Minister Malcolm X. For those that missed it, I'll say it again. The Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad had nothing to do with the death of Minister Malcolm X. What he told Minister Malcolm was, if you're going to come back, you got to put out these fires that you started. Now, you can go back and find this. But these devils could not let Minister Malcolm come back to the Nation of Islam. Besides, they had already put forth how the Nation of Islam was going to be split. They had already put forth. If you look, brothers and sisters, don't believe the reels that you're given. People have been augmenting camera work for years. They show you some old clips of Minister Malcolm having an disagreement on the media with the Most Honorable or against the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. That happened so much earlier. The Afro happened so much earlier. All of these things happened so much earlier, but they put it in place and organized it to such place where you and I, when we're looking at it, we're thinking that it's in the same time period, but it wasn't. It wasn't. And this is the sorcery of the one-eyed vision that you're looking at, the television. It tells a vision. It can tell a lie too. It can tell a lie too. It tells a vision and it can tell a lie. And so I just want you to know that, because in 1964, December 1964, Minister Malcolm goes to Detroit. He's preaching in Detroit, and his home had been firebombed. Okay, this is important. I want you to go back and look at the speeches after his home had been firebombed. He does a interview with a black press agent where he said he's supposed to go to court with the Muslims. He's supposed to have a public case with the Muslims to come back. And the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad was ready to welcome him back. but they firebomb his home. When they firebomb his home, brothers and sisters, he flies to Detroit. He's taking all these speaking engagements, trying to raise money for his family and purchase this house. And if you do your research, you'll find out that this is true. So that him and Sister Betty could put money down on another house. So that should let you know he wasn't trying to keep the house. Wasn't trying to keep the house, but there was confusion going on. The white man was running the media. The white man was putting stuff in Muhammad Speaks paper as well to keep you and I tripped up. Same way he does John F. Kennedy's murder. Same way he did Minister Malcolm murder. To this day, you haven't been able to put a finger on it. For the longest time, until 1999, you was able to finally find out that the government, which you already knew it, but you couldn't put your finger on it, the government was involved in the death of Martin Luther King Jr. Same thing with Bobby Kennedy. They wait. See, these men had such a fortitude and such sincerity until they know the truth come out that it's over. They know the truth come out is over. Malcolm X was too big to be ignored. Too big to be ignored. Besides, him and King had come together in 1964 at the state capitol in a picture that was staged and accepted by both. And they won't admit that because they knew it was time to hit the kill button. So back to what I was saying. In 1964 of December, Malcolm X was killed February the 21st, 1965. In 1964, that December prior to 65, December 1964, he was speaking in Detroit. He's speaking in Detroit, and he speaks in Detroit, Michigan. Gives a speech. Here are the words that he said, and you can research this. You can pull it up. He says, and I'm going to paraphrase, he apologized for his dress, and he said one of the good things that he learned from the Muslim movement is that he needs to always be neatly dressed and prepared. That's what they teach you, and to be neat and to be on time. And he apologized for his dress, the way he was dressed, because he had a coat on, but he had a sweater on. He didn't have a shirt and tie. He had a coat on, and had a sweater on during the speech, but it was still a worn and neat fashion. And he told him, he says, I stand before you. I want to stand before you correct. He said, I'm still a Muslim. He said, my religion is still Islam. And he said, I still have a lot of respect for the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. That's what he said. That's what he said. The intention was for Minister Malcolm to come back inside of the Nation of Islam. I want to say that again. That was the intentions of Minister Malcolm and the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. In between that was CIA agents and the FBI, COINTELPRO, causing trouble between the two in the sense that they wouldn't allow any messages to be passed. And at the end of it, both of them understood who was in between this trouble. Now, brothers and sisters, they had to step up the tempo. So they continued to pressure Minister Malcolm. These were not real black Muslims, telling you they were agents, provocateurs, cowing and eavesdroppers. They had to step up the tempo. So they began to harass our brother on up until the time that he died. But at that period, Minister Malcolm was so busy trying to arrange things for his family, he never said anything against the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad negative. All of that happened in the initial rift. Earlier on in the initial rift is when all of those things happened. But they would never run a clean camera before you so you would know. You should have learned it from the Zapruder file. Now they got the camera rolling on the president, and you can plainly see from President Kennedy's assassination, you can plainly see that there are several different shots that hit the American president of the United States, John F. Kennedy. Plainly see it. For the longest time, they lied to you and said there was a mystery bullet. Brothers and sisters, use your mind, use your head, and stop letting the devil think for you. Because anybody with any knowledge could see. Anybody with any knowledge could see. They could see it that the white man was controlling this camera action. And brother ministers, you're right. I want to correct that. That is correct. His home was firebombed on the 14th of February. You're right. So that was the what was it? The 19th, excuse me, 19th of February, 1965, that the second speech he took to Detroit. That is correct. And he spoke there and said he would come back anytime they needed him. And at the same time, he was trying to secure the home that they were buying in another area of New York. And I stand correct. That is correct, brother. Thank you very much. And so I appreciate that very much. And this is important because we need to know the truth. And so our brother's death was hastened because had he come back in the Nation of Islam, I want you to understand this. Had he come back in the Nation of Islam and peace had been made, and with the visitation he had with the civil rights movement, look at the overwhelming support he would have gotten in the Nation of Islam and how many people would have been raised in the nation at that time. Don't you know the government couldn't allow that? Mr. Muhammad's plan is a solid plan. It's a foolproof plan that if we come together, pool our wealth, work, and do for ourselves, we won't need that man. And he has to have us working in his job. Don't you know the white man, when he got you and put you in slavery, the whole purpose was for you to run his labor camps. I'm telling you, brothers and sisters, the whole purpose was for you to run his labor camps. And so you and I have to understand how serious the move was to kill Minister Malcolm. Now, I want to bring up James Best. Minister Malcolm had Talmadge hair that was carrying the frontal weapon, the frontal assault, with two of the other Muslim brothers. And I want you to understand there was no mistake. They got the right brothers. There was no mistake. Each one of them were guilty. Each one of them ran up to make the shooting. This is a fact. Now, why they were trying to defend one of the brothers, I don't know. I don't know. But I do know this. Agents will come out to defend other agents. They will do that. So I want you to understand that after they got Minister Malcolm, Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad was being given poison, cortisone shots. It's another thing you need to check. Another thing you need to check. He was being given cortisone shots. Now, cortisone would add weight to the face, and it could also poison the body. They were giving him a cortisone shots, or, as you know, steroid shots, because he had asthmatic bronchitis. And this is another reason they moved him to Arizona, to get him in a warmer climate. And to be there would dry the lungs so that his breathing would be better. Now, why is that important, brothers and sisters? Because Minister Malcolm had been given a message that there was someone would try to destroy the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. It's another reason why he was coming back in, because they learned that the FBI and CIA was behind this. You have to understand this. They learned who the people were, so much so that Minister Malcolm had made a list about the people that were going to have him assassinated, and he was going to speak, or rather announce that at the meeting that he was at in the Audubon Ballroom. He never got a chance to announce it. Sister Betty had the list, and on that list they point out the agents. But the federal government said that they were going to have an investigation and put a gag order on the list and threaten the family. And through the threat, when they couldn't control Sister Betty Shabazz, Then you see a mysterious fire come up. Come on, brothers and sisters. Where have we seen this fire before? You seen when his house was firebombed on February the 14th. Thanks, our brother, for that correction. You seen when Minister Malcolm, as a child, his house was burned several times. We know that fire is the fingerprint of the white man. If a brother or sister is going to do something to you, they ain't going to take time trying to firebomb you. Weapons are too easy to get in New York. Too easy to get anywhere. So you got to use your head on stuff like that. And the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad wasn't well. What better way to poison him than to give him a medication that was harsh on the body? And you see, if you go back and look at one of the reels, Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad was older. This is when Wallace Wardeen Muhammad, after they had killed Mr. Malcolm in the early 70s, they were trying to force Mr. Muhammad to sit down behind the podium, trying to make the people feel like he was sick. And the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad would not sit down. They tried to push him down, but he was so strong. He was so strong until he wouldn't let him sit him down. And you can go back and look at this stuff. Go and look on the tape when they tried to force him to sit down. This is in the early 70s, and he wouldn't do it. Well, they finally poisoned him in 1975. Now, I said that because I want to say this. That same year, James Best had killed his own brother, his own blood brother. Prior to that, in 1965, he was the silent gun that had killed Minister Malcolm X. The silent gun that they flew from the West Coast. They didn't give his name, but they point some of the other brothers. You know, when it get hot and heavy, they start to tell on people. And this is very important for you to know. The same James Best shot Dr. Khalid. The same James Best shot Dr. Khalid. In the Nation of Islam, during the time of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, this man, James Best, was a Farrakhan loyalist during the lifetime of Minister Malcolm X, during the lifetime of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. That speaks volumes. And he was loyal to Minister Farrakhan. And he himself admits this. He killed his brother. He didn't do a day in jail. He was cited as a mystery gun in the death of Minister Malcolm X. He didn't do a day in jail. He beat up people and made them sell pistol whipper and made them buy the paper Muhammad speak. Nothing happened to him. The man didn't even do any time in jail. He shot Dr. Khalid. He didn't do any time in jail. Now tell me, I'm just asking, the same man that was said to be a friend of Minister Farrakhan, the same man, tell me how a man can do all of this and a white man don't put him in jail. Name me one black man that you've seen have some trouble or get in trouble that haven't spent time in jail. And you see the police, after we had stumped him out for shooting Dr. Khalid, you see the police pull him back and protect this devil, or rather protect this demon. You had devils protecting black demons who came and killed Dr. Khalid. This is a fact. So, excuse me, brothers and sisters, my allergies. So I just want to tell you that you've been duped, hoodwinked, you know the phrase, say it with me, bamboozled, led astray, run amok, tucked and tied and told. The man has done that to you. And the white man would never put in front of you any black man of any real substance. He's not going to do that. That's why I say you'll never get justice, never get peace, you'll never get equality. You'll never get it. The white man, justice, and the white man, peace, and his equality is tied to his constitution, and his constitution is racist because he's racist. And white privilege goes along with racism. That's why I tell you, you'll never get any justice, never get any peace from this white man. And any black people you put in front of you, including Breakfast Club, Charlemagne the God and Agent, nothing but an agent, DJ Envy, nothing but an agent, the sister on there with them, She ain't nothing but an agent too. Nothing but an agent. Nothing but an agent. So I'm letting you know, here, Charlemagne the God was accused of statutory rape of a young girl. Never did a day in jail. You don't see him on any sexual offender list or anything like that. Brothers and sisters, I'm telling you, you see the Breakfast Club, where did they come from? You look closely at all of them, they look just like police. The only criminal that looks like a criminal is Charlemagne the God, and they try to make him conscious. But when you look at DJ Envy, and you look at the other sister on there, they look just like cops, just like feds. But you got to open your eyes to see it. You got to see it. Now, you got some brothers and sisters out there saying, hey, man, that sounds a little crazy. Well, brother, I think he's off his rocker. All I want to tell you is that the white man would never put anyone in front of you of any substance. He'll never do it. He'll never do it. Never put anyone over you that don't have, that has any substance, any real care for the people. He'll never do it. Those are the ones that catch hell. That's why I'm catching hell today. Can't even finish my profession. Literally have to speak for you to bless me to be able to take care of my family. This is a fact. Because the man, anytime you stand up and you want to stand up for the people and you're going to tell the people the truth, the man don't want you saying nothing. Now, there have been places that I marched and places that I intended to march, and they would grab me and beat me down and put me in federal holding. And if it hadn't been for my wife, Sister Joanna, and other federal lawyers that are black, that reached in and destroyed their entire career helping me, I wouldn't be here today. The man had an assassination attempt on me in Clinton, Maryland, in November the 28th, 2013. That's a fact. And if you listen to Can We Talk Radio, you will see that they put a hit on me. And then they said that it was a gang war. How the hell you gonna have a gang war in Clinton, Maryland, which ain't nothing but country? Nothing but fields. We were having a meeting for the National Black Rifle Association. This before we got the National African American Gun Club Association. And they had sought to shoot me. And I'm just telling you the truth. They sought to shoot me. And I called Coakley's family. But had they been successful, and that's Steve Coakley's family, had they been successful in shooting me, they would also got a 4-year-old, a 2-year-old, a 4-year-old, a 2-year-old, and a 6-month-old had they been successful in shooting me. And I just want you to know, because this is how these devils roll, and they'll lie. They'll lie. You pull my name up on the internet, and they have me as a black jihad and everything else, and the only thing I'm doing is telling you the truth. Telling you the white man is not to be trusted, telling you to arm yourself to defend your community, and anytime that you hear me telling you the truth, so all I got to do is speak the truth. Anytime you hear me telling you that, then it's game over. He's trying to keep me misrepresented in media, so that if he does something, then he'll seem justified. So you'll seem justified. And same way, this is what he did to Dr. Khalid on such a higher level. But he wasn't successful. They didn't want a militant Muslim movement. It's the last thing they want. Was a militant Muslim movement. The very last thing that they wanted. They didn't want it. They didn't want it. To have Khalid Muhammad and a militant Muslim movement would have been the end of everything that Minister Farrakhan was trying to set. It would have been the end. That you can believe. So brothers and sisters, they had one alternative. That was to take Dr. Khalid out. So when they fell with shooting him with James Best, then it was through the nationalists Michael Muhammad, Malik Zulu Shabazz, and Hashim Mzinga that was successfully poisoning our brother in February the 18th, 2001. February the 18th, 2001 is when he successfully died. And the paper had already come out before he died. The Jews had already written the paper. The words of Khalid, straight from Khalid Muhammad's mouth, something like that on a paper. And you could go back and research that. But the paper prior to that, it was written as Khalid's successor. Malik Zulu Shabazz was written as Khalid's successor. It came from a man named Mark Franco Cohen, a Jewish paper out of Washington, D.C. Washington, D.C. based Jewish paper that went all over the nation. So Farrakhan, his Muslims in 1985, which was another head spinner for Dr. Khalid because he told me about it. In 1985 and 86, he said on the Phil Donahue show and another white syndicated show that someday white people will be able to join the Nation of Islam. And then he cited himself as Jesus and said when Jesus first came, he gave the message to the Jews. And since the Jews wouldn't receive it, then he sent it out to the Gentiles. Now, if he ain't messed up, you tell me. If there ain't an agent, then you tell me. Give me proof. If I'm wrong, give me proof that I'm wrong. And I'll apologize to you. I'll apologize to you. But you got to first be able to show me where I'm wrong. If you pull it up, you'll find out that this is the truth. And that's a good thing about internet, because you can't hide anything. You won't be able to hide anything. And I'll tell you how treacherous these devils are. They called me at Kansas State University, and I believe it was 2016, 2017, somewhere around there, and asked me to give a speech. And I tricked those devils because when I gave the speech, I was telling black people who are Democrat and blacks who are Republican that if they don't get guns, they're out of their minds. And it's the last time that Bill Clinton's camp will ever call me to do a speech. The last time they ever do it, and I'm glad. I'm glad. And tried to give me a check, but I wouldn't take it. You can't pay me. I won't do it. And you'll see that. You'll see that. Prior to it, they were trying to set me up. Trying to set me up. I shook Clinton's hand when they came in and took the pictures. I shook Clinton's hand. He reached to shake my hand. I reached to shake his. And he had his own camera people to come through and take the picture. That's a fact. But they tried to give me some money behind the scenes to speak up for the Democratic Party, and I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't do it. I told him I'm not a politician, and I won't do it. But I did tell him, I said, black people need to have weapons. And he talked to me about the African American Defense League, and he understand it was created by Dr. Khalid Muhammad. I said it was. He said, well, I understand that you're leading it now. I said, yes, I am. And I said, black people need weapons. And you can never expect me to tell black people not to carry weapons while you're out of your mind. I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't do it. So I'll never say that. But I did shake his hand, and I was cordial. And I took the opportunity. But I told him, I said, either we can live together as brothers or we'll die together as fools. But one thing you will never get me to say is that a black man don't need a gun, because he need a God and he need his gun. Now, what we don't need is these sellouts that are causing us trouble, because when the day comes, then you have to be able to defend yourself. And all I'm saying, if you're looking for Muslims to talk to you about defense and who are going to defend themselves, you better search for Silas Muhammad out of Houston, Texas. You'll get some defense under him. But Louis Farrakhan is not going to defend anybody. Besides, his son Mustafa Farrakhan is a Harvey, Illinois police officer, a Harvey, Illinois police lieutenant. And if you don't believe that, just research it. All you have to do is put it in Google, and you'll find out that this is true. Minister Farrakhan, when he ousted Dr. Khalid in 1993, he said that Father Flager, a known homosexual, is his friend. That's what he said. That's what he said. He was such a homosexual that the Catholic Church excommunicated him. The Catholic Church excommunicated Father Pfleger for sexual deviances with minor boys that he had adopted. And they told him that he couldn't adopt any more boys and had to tell the adoption agencies in Chicago to stop him from adopting any boys. This is a fact. You got to know it. And this man is Minister Farrakhan's friend. A white man is his friend, but he ousted Dr. Khalid. And during the assassination attempt, he never visited Dr. Khalid once. He never visited Minister Malcolm. He never visited Minister Malcolm's family, Sister Betty. He is estranged of his connection between the death of Qubilah Shabazz and young Malcolm Shabazz. This is strange. He makes peace in 1995, I believe it is. Every time he makes peace with somebody he's been at odds with, they end up dead. In 1997, the suspicious death of Sister Betty Shabazz, who dies in a fire, the white man's fingerprint, I told you, her house was firebombed when she was with Minister Malcolm. Minister Malcolm's house was burned by the Ku Klux Klan when his father was in the Garveyite movement. This is the fingerprint of the white man. This is his fingerprint. And they tried to blame it on young Malcolm Shabazz, Minister Malcolm's grandson, by Sister Qubilah Shabazz. This is the kind of devil that we're dealing with. And these are the devils because they knew that that family had the influence and was standing up with Sister Betty Shabazz teaching young Malcolm Shabazz and every other black person that was listening, including our own daughters. They were gaining the momentum as a black nationalist first family because that's what they are. And the white man couldn't handle that, didn't want it. So when young Malcolm Shabazz is growing up and organizing, getting together now as a young youth, was calming down. His grandmother dies in a fire that they blame him for, that he denied doing till the day he died. He denied setting that fire. They even tried to drug our young brother to make him lie, and the brother was so strong mentally that he wouldn't lie. So brothers and sisters, we are fighting agents, segregationists, black demons, and there are devils that finance them. And Minister Farrakhan, by accepting white people in his nation of Islam, I should say Islam, because it's not the nation of Islam, it's Islam, Minister Farrakhan's nation of Islam. His own son had a baby by a white girl and married her, and Farrakhan gave him his blessing. I ask you, are these funny moves? Are these funny moves of an agent or what? I ask you this. I ask you this. I ask you this. Now his nation of Islam, welcoming white people in since 1985, infiltrated perfectly the organization. He admitted in 1975, he and Waradeen Muhammad admitted that the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad had been poisoned. And I find it strange that when this happened, you had two followings. Minister Farrakhan split the nation in one way of creating his own nation of Islam, which he was not the heir apparent. The Most Honorable Silas Muhammad was noted as an heir apparent. It was not Minister Louis Farrakhan. It's not until he get Khalid Muhammad in the Nation of Islam that the Nation of Islam under him began to grow and soar. They were too militant with Khalid Muhammad. And the white man says, you got to get rid of Khalid Muhammad. You got to get rid of what he's doing. Can you stop what he's doing? And Farrakhan must have said, boss, I didn't start it, so I can't stop it. And so he said, you got to get rid of it. If you need any help, we'll do it. James Best, a known killer, killed his own blood brother. His own blood brother, pistol whipping people, making them buy Muhammad Speak newspapers. Just being negative, casting a negative shadow on the Nation of Islam under the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. Man had never been arrested for the murders that he did. Never been arrested. What do you call that? Have you ever seen anything like that? Never. Farrakhan boasts angrily about how he had Malcolm killed. And nobody is willing to put the finger on him and say, hey, he gave the signal for Minister Malcolm's death, and that's what happened. But nobody's willing to see it. Jesse Jackson made the arrangements for Dr. King's death, but nobody's willing to see it. Because the whole purpose was to dismantle the movement. The whole purpose was to dismantle the movement. You look at the Nation of Islam now, compared to the Nation of Islam in its zenith and how it was, the original teaching under the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. If you look at Farrakhan, you'll see a bunch of rose pickers. Men that are giving in to gay philosophies. Wesley Muhammad wrote a book, Gender Benders. It talked about the how marijuana was feminizing black males. And that's true. It is a gender bender. That's true. As a Muslim, I said, that's true. We all learn that. But here's the other thing. Did you know that there's a wide movement? You be blind and deaf and dumb not to see it. But there's been a wide push through the liberals for the last 50 to 60 years to not only feminize men, but to defeminize women, the LGBTQ movement. And I don't see how Wesley missed that. I don't understand it. But he's a paid agent. A paid agent. A paid agent that is taught to write and make statements to get you off your mark. They keep going back to Malcolm X. Nur Muhammad knows nothing of Malcolm X. He knows nothing of Minister Malcolm's family. He has never talked to Sister Betty Shabazz, but he make these statements that if we had Minister Malcolm killed, we would have said it. Well, Nuri, newsflash and wake-up call, your own leader admitted to having set the climate and set the words to have Minister Malcolm killed. Your own leader did that on the Mike Wallace show in front of Minister Malcolm's daughter. Right in front of Minister Malcolm's daughter. So that tells you how dumb you are because you don't pay attention. Wesley Muhammad too making statements that he has no knowledge of, just ignorant and stupid. Stupid trying to defend a man that is already admitted that the nation was complicitly involved. The only difference is that Minister Farrakhan would never go to jail because he is the agent to put things in process. How is it that the man that did the killing, another hitman that did the killing in the assassination of Minister Malcolm X, never served time in jail? He's in New Jersey right now. Or no, he recently died, and committing crime to the day that he died and was never arrested. Brothers and sisters, it's time for us to wake up. Farrakhan is a fake, a fraud, a phony. And when he dies, and that's why they keep him from in front of the camera, because he's not well now. He's not well. He comes out every now and then because these white people are trying to preserve him, because they know when Farrakhan dies that it's really going to hit the fan. You know what's going to hit the fan. You already know what's going to hit the fan when he dies, because the jig is going to be up. And they ain't got nobody else to control the Muslim movement. They couldn't buy Silas Muhammad. And they ain't got nobody else to control the Muslim movement. They ain't got nobody else to control it. Because Nur Muhammad can't do it. They're too weak. Wesley Muhammad can't do it. He's too weak. Too weak. They can't do it. Then they have the heir apparent. Well, the heir apparent. How's Mustafa Muhammad going to do it? Mustafa Muhammad can't do it. He's working with the devil. So how you going to keep control of the Muslim movement? And I intend to let everybody know that he's nothing but a cop. The head of the Federation of Islam under the Nation of Islam of his father, Louis Farrakhan, Mustafa Muhammad is nothing but a police officer in Harvey, Illinois. He's a police officer. So he can't keep the confidence of the people working with these devils. And it has to be told. It has to be told. Brothers and sisters, this is the knowledge that I want to put before you. That we've got to be steadfast. We've got to be unmovable. And we have to be always abound in the work of God that is put before us to stand as righteous people. And we'll have to defend ourselves against one of the most vicious beasts that we've ever dealt with on the planet as black people. You and I have to defend ourselves because we are in danger. They are killing us. The war is already on. The war is already on. It's already on. Some say, well, brother, you shouldn't be speaking this over the web. Well, what the hell do I have to lose speaking this over the web when they're walking into grocery stores blowing your and my head off? I don't have anything to lose. You don't have anything to lose. I just want to make sure that you get all the agents out of the way. That's what I want, brothers and sisters. For you to get all the agents out of the way. Because I already know that once we got the agents out of the way, and once you can see how an agent moves and how he walks and how he talks, then you will be able to get him out of the way. If the white man don't move him himself, we'll move the white man and remove those agents ourselves. That day is here. That day is here. The day that we will come and take the sheets off the Klan, that we will uncover the police unit and the doctors in the hospital and every racist organization and participant of their organization. The day has come that we will do that and get true liberation. Me and you will do that. And you'll never do it by having the enemy in the camp. I said the white man is the enemy in the camp. And Minister Farrakhan put him in the camp. He ain't got no army anymore. Not under him. Not under him. So that's why we're building up the Nation of Islam under Minister Silas Muhammad. We're building it up. And we're going to be talking about that. We're going to be asking God to bless and continue to bless the teaching of the Nation of Islam under Minister Silas Muhammad, so that we could grow and continue to build up the real Nation of Islam. The real heir apparent. The torch carrier. The one who's able to extend that olive branch to you and I, brothers and sisters. Because we've been duped oh so long. We'll be having these meetings via the web, and we thank God. You can say Allah, you can say Jesus Christ, or whoever you want. Whoever you want. I say God because I think that's a representation of all of those names. We'll be able to stand with brothers and sisters, whether you be Baptist or Methodist or Episcopalian or even black Catholics. It don't matter where you are, brothers and sisters. I just want you to know that when that man stop you, when he come up on you to kill you, he's not asking you what your religion is. He's not asking you what your name is. That man, the only thing he sees is a nigger and somebody for him to lynch, kill. That's it. To lynch and kill. And that's it. So hopefully you got enough sense. Hopefully you got enough sense to know that without the culprits and those that support the teaching of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, you don't have any fierce NOI. Without Elijah, without the teaching of Malcolm, without the teaching of Dr. Khalid Muhammad, you don't have a fierce NOI. The only thing that Minister Farrakhan has today is a bunch of rose pickers. And you see him taking pictures with white people the same way that the white man takes his picture with his own dog. The same way that the white man takes pictures with his own dog. You see Muslims defending white people. Tell us to stop calling white people devils. Well, I'll never stop calling the white man a devil. He's a devil. When a man is sending people in to kill you and take you out, that's a devil. He's doing evil. He's deviating as a human, so that's the devil. And there's no time in history where the white man has never killed black people. Every place he's ever been, he's killed people. Every place he's ever been, he's enslaved. Every place he's ever been, he lynched. You're my people. You're my mother. You're my father. Our grandparents, great-grandparents had the experience with this evil white man. I want to thank you for holding with me, brothers and sisters. I want to thank you for being patient. And I hope you're all right. And I hope that I've said something as usual to encourage you and that you've learned something from the knowledge that I can give. And I want to thank our brother for any correction. And any one of you on there, I tell you to research so that you can help me teach this. I'm not beyond reproach. No, Minister Farrakhan certainly isn't beyond reproach. As a matter of fact, we should be questioning him every day of his life and tell him to just come and be honest with us. Tell us the truth. You already betrayed us and got paid for it. The least you can do is tell us the truth before you die. It's the least you can do. So I want us to be encouraged, brothers and sisters. Let us be encouraged. And I want to thank you again for being patient with me. And I pray that to anyone that has fear, all the fear that you have in you will be taken out. As I said on many occasions, when you see that man and you see that he's nothing but a coward, you won't be afraid of him. Because it's only a coward that will gang up on you. Only a coward would do that. So I ask you to be at peace. And I give you the peace that only God can give. And so I say peace unto you and peace be unto you. And if you're a Muslim, I say assalamu alaikum, which means peace be unto you in the Arabic tongue. If you're a Christian, I say unto you peace and be at peace. I come in peace and I leave in peace. And may peace be upon you and your family. And only God can restore that. So brothers and sisters, I pray that you have a wonderful night. And I look forward to seeing you again. Look for me to come before you again. Watch as well as pray. And may the grace of our Lord, the sweet communion of the Holy Spirit, rest, rule, and abide with us now, henceforth, and forever. And may the teaching be direct and current in you. Have a good day, brothers and sisters. Peace.